They laughed when I begged them not to abandon me. But 15 years later, the same parents were standing at my door, crying, begging for mercy. And the only reason they came back was because my rich aunt had left me everything in her will. Before we continue, don't forget to hit subscribe, share this video, and drop a comment below, because what happens next will shock you even more. Eveline never thought she'd see her parents again. They left her when she was only 12, choosing a new life without her, pretending she never existed. The years that followed were brutal, sleeping in relatives' basements, eating leftovers, and working odd jobs just to survive. Nobody believed in her, nobody cared. Until one person did. Her Aunt Margaret, the only family member who ever treated her with love. When Margaret passed away, everyone in the family gathered expecting money and property to be divided. Eveline came quietly, unnoticed, almost invisible. But the lawyer's words froze the entire room. Margaret has left her entire estate, her companies, and her fortune, solely to Eveline. The silence was louder than thunder. Gasps, clenched, jaws, and bitter stares filled the room. Eveline's parents, who once threw her away like trash, were the first to break down in fake tears. But Eveline's heart didn't melt. Instead, an old fire inside her began to burn again. Because she knew this was just the beginning, and her parents' sudden return was hiding a much darker plan. At first, Eveline's parents pretended to care. They started visiting her mansion, bringing flowers, fake smiles, and hugs that felt colder than ice. They spoke softly, calling her our precious daughter, as if 15 years of abandonment could vanish overnight. Eveline forced a smile, but deep inside her heart screamed with anger. One night, she overheard them whispering in the living room. "We have to convince her to sign over part of the inheritance," her father muttered. "Or better, get her to add us to the companies. Once she trusts us, the money will be ours," her mother replied, her voice dripping with greed. Eveline froze behind the door, her blood boiling. The betrayal she had expected was finally here. They weren't back for her. They were back for the money. The following weeks turned into a dangerous game. Her parents showered her with fake affection. Lavish dinners, sweet words, promises of family. But Eveline could see through it all. She watched as they snooped around her office, as they pressed her lawyer with subtle questions, and as they tried to manipulate her assistant into handing over private documents. But Eveline wasn't the same helpless little girl they once abandoned. She was now the sole heir of a vast empire, a woman sharpened by years of pain, and a survivor who had built her strength on betrayal. She decided to stay silent, to watch, and to let them believe their plan was working, because Eveline had a plan of her own, one that would expose their greed and end their control over her life forever. Days turned into weeks, and Eveline played her role perfectly. She acted innocent, smiled at her parents' fake affection, and pretended to trust them. Every time they brought up money, she nodded politely, as if she was actually considering their advice. One evening, over dinner, her father leaned forward and said, "Sweetheart, you're too young to handle all these companies alone. Why don't you transfer a share to us? We'll guide you, protect you from mistakes." Her mother quickly added, "Yes, darling, it's all for your safety. Families should share everything." Eveline lowered her eyes and whispered, "Maybe you're right. I don't know if I can do this alone." Her parents exchanged a victorious glance. They thought they had won. They thought their daughter was still weak, naive, and desperate for love. But Eveline had already set her plan into motion. The very next week, she invited them to her lawyer's office for the transfer papers. Her parents arrived in their best clothes, smiling ear to ear, already imagining themselves as billionaires. But as the lawyer opened the folder, their smiles slowly disappeared. Instead of transfer documents, There were legal papers, restraining orders, asset protection clauses, and a will update. Eveline had cut them off completely, leaving no chance for them to touch her wealth. Her parents' faces turned pale. What is this? You can't do this to us, her father shouted. But Eveline stood tall, her voice calm, yet sharp as a blade. You abandoned me once. This time I'm the one walking away. My aunt trusted me, not you. And today, I choose to protect her trust, and myself. The guards escorted them out of the building as her parents screamed and begged. Eveline watched in silence, her heart heavy but stronger than ever before. She had finally won. Eveline thought pushing her parents out of her life would finally bring her peace, but she was wrong. Humiliated and furious, they weren't ready to give up. Within days, rumors started spreading in the media, stories twisting the truth about Eveline, painting her as a spoiled, selfish girl who turned against her loving parents. She woke up one morning to see headlines screaming, "Heiress betrays her own family." Reporters camped outside her mansion, demanding answers. Business partners began calling, asking if the news was true. Eveline instantly knew. This was her parents' doing. At night, she sat in her study, staring at her aunt's portrait. You trusted me with everything, and now they're trying to destroy me. But I won't let them win. Instead of hiding, Eveline decided to fight back, but not with anger, with truth. She gathered old documents, letters, and even medical records proving how her parents had abandoned her as a child and left her in her aunt's care. She had witnesses too, her aunt's loyal staff, who had seen everything. Her lawyer suggested a press conference. At first, Eveline hesitated. Facing the world meant reliving her painful past. But she realized this was the only way to protect not just her inheritance, but her dignity. The stage was set. Cameras flashed as Eveline walked up, dressed in black, her face calm but fierce. She began speaking, her voice trembling at first, but growing stronger with every word. She told the world the truth, how her parents abandoned her, how her aunt saved her, and how those same parents had returned only for the money. By the end, the room was silent. Reporters who once doubted her now looked at her with respect. The truth had finally come out. But Eveline knew. This battle wasn't over. Her parents were not the kind to walk away quietly. Something even darker was on its way. Eveline's powerful speech shook the city, but for her parents, it was pure humiliation. Their faces splashed across newspapers as greedy manipulators left them boiling with rage. But instead of backing down, they grew more dangerous. Late one night, Eveline received a letter slipped under her mansion's gate. It wasn't signed, but the handwriting was unmistakably her father's. The message read, "If you don't share, what's ours? We'll make sure you lose everything, even if it means dragging you down with us." Fear crept into Eveline's heart, but so did anger. She tightened her grip on the letter, whispering, "They still think I'm the scared little girl they left behind. They have no idea who I've become." The next day, she found out her parents had filed a legal case against her, claiming the inheritance should be split because they were her real family. It was their final gamble, a desperate attempt to take what was never theirs. Courtrooms turned into battlefields. Eveline sat poised, supported by her aunt's loyal lawyer, while her parents screamed and cried fake tears, trying to play the role of victims. But every piece of evidence Eveline presented, every letter, every testimony, crushed their lies. As the trial dragged on, whispers filled the courtroom. People began to see Eveline's parents for who they truly were. Heartless, opportunists who valued wealth over blood. Eveline, on the other hand, became a symbol of resilience and strength, a young woman who refused to let her past define her. By the time the judge adjourned, it was clear. Eveline was winning. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't just about money. It was about breaking free. Forever. The final day of the trial arrived. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, business partners, and even distant relatives had gathered to witness the outcome. Eveline sat tall, her aunt's locket resting against her chest, as if reminding her she wasn't alone. Her parents gave one last desperate plea, crying about family bonds and forgiveness. But the evidence was undeniable. The judge's voice echoed through the hall. The inheritance rightfully belongs to Eveline. Case dismissed. For a moment, Eveline closed her eyes, letting out the breath she had been holding for years. Tears welled up, not of sorrow, but of relief. Justice had finally been served. Her parents stormed out, faces twisted with rage and defeat. Eveline didn't chase them. She didn't need to. Their greed had destroyed them, while she had gained something far greater than money. Freedom. Outside, the courthouse. Cameras flashed. Microphones were pushed toward her. But Eveline only gave a simple statement. This wasn't about wealth. It was about truth, dignity, and honoring the woman who raised me when no one else would. My aunt gave me love, not money. Today, I stand here because of her, and I'll carry her legacy forward with pride. The crowd erupted in applause. Eveline walked away, her heart lighter than ever before. The chains of her past were broken. For the first time, she wasn't the abandoned little girl. She was Eveline, strong, free, and ready to begin her own story. And as the sun set that evening, she looked at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Aunt. I did it."